Hey everyone, Mr. Happy here, and welcome to Mondays with Mr. Happy, aka Mr. Happy Mondays, the weekly Q&A show where you ask me questions and I answer them. And I can barely speak. Your boy's hungry over here. He hasn't finished all of his coffee yet today, but otherwise we're doing a-okay. Gonna get right into the Q&A after I thank the patrons, but first I did ask you last week about the little reminders about Twitch streams at the beginning and at the end of videos. This is the last time I'll bring it up in this format, just letting you know. I've already read those comments for the most part. I've skipped over the questions so I can save those for the Q&A itself. It seems like most people are okay with the ideas. So in one video this last week, I introduced this. I guess I'll do it right now. That's little dude. He's little me. He just slides into frame like this. Quick box goes away. That seems to be the best way. And then a reminder at the end of videos. Seems like most people were okay with that idea. So that is what I will go about doing from this point forward. Now that we've gotten that out of the way, let's get into the Q&A. Thank you to our sponsors over on Patreon. You guys support. There's no reason. You don't have to. There's nothing exclusive over there. There's nothing fancy or fun. It's just there to support the channel. I think we did have somebody, Eshelman also added as a supporter over there. So thank you to them. Get a special shout out right here. So that way I can remind, because the friggin' thing has been broken this entire time and I haven't fixed it yet. So thank you to them, and thank you to all of our sponsors over on Patreon, our Patrons of Darkness, Kuchikross on Genova, and Kernai Oni. And thank you for them for going above and beyond. And thank you to all of our other patrons. And thank you for tuning in. Let's see what questions there are in the section below. Hashtag Mondays with Mr. Happy. Question number 1 of the week. Hello, I hope you're doing well. Same to you. Just want to ask what made you main physical range. From my understanding, Stormblood was the only time you mainly played another role. What draws you into the physical range class? So, A Realm Reborn was Bard. Because it was the only job I had from 1.0 that had some decent gear and didn't need to gear grind before I could go right into hard mode trials and the binding coils. That kind of stuck until 2.4 when Ninja came out, and I was given the opportunity to play that. My accessories already overlapped from Bard, so it was pretty easy to transition over. And then I played Ninja until 3.1. Then I played Monk in 3.2. Then I was supposed to play Monk for 3.4, but my raid group ended up recruiting 2 Monks, so I had to go Machinist because we needed a ranged physical. Then in 4.0 I said, you know what? I wanted to main Monk this entire time this game has been out. I'm only maining Monk in Stormblood. And I did. I mained it all throughout Stormblood, all the ultimates, all the savages. And then I didn't really like what I saw at the media tour for Monk. And I really liked what I saw for Dancer. So I just wanted to play Dancer. And then I also really liked Machinist, so I played Machinist. But I've also done Monk, Machinist, Dancer. I've done Savage on White Mage. I've done some stuff on Tank. I've been doing the Savages on Black Mage as of late. So honestly, it just ends up being, most of the time I was forced into it, Bard and Machinist in the older times. Monk is always my first choice whenever I can take it, as long as it's fun to play. And that just hasn't happened as much as I would have liked. So I try to be flexible. Not to mention that because I like to call mechanics, and I like to be able to spot when people are fucking things up. Sometimes it's nice to be ranged physical. I can just see everything that's going on in front of me. And I like to believe that it's of some helpfulness to the raid group at some point. Hashtag Mondays with Mr. Happy. Hope this Sunday finds you well. That is a good hello, and I hope it finds you well on Monday. Just wondering about the dialogue in the Pixel remasters. Does it feel pretty good by modern standards, or is it noticeable that it's derived from old school janky localizations and letter count limits? Thanks. A mix of both. Honestly, I've played so many modern versions of the older Final Fantasy games, or more modern versions, I should say. I played, the PSP versions of 1 and 2. I played the DS version of 3. And it's almost hard for me to remember all the proper jankiness from the old games. They kept some of the weird, memorable stuff when it comes to localizations, I, Garland, will knock you all down. They keep some of the more ridiculous, notable stuff, but it feels cohesive and brought together well enough. It wasn't I was never what the heck is this? What are they even talking about? And there's no character limit problems anymore. There's some references to character limits when it comes to the naming conventions for the characters, or some of the things that were there before. They didn't just deliberately extend them, but I'd say it's modern by most standards. Hashtag Mr. Happy Mondays. Hello, Mr. Happy. Hello. This last X-Pack, you only got 2 dungeons on the Expert Roulette. With the new X-Pack, we'll get less dungeons, so you think we'll still need the Expert Roulette. We're not getting less dungeons in the new expansion. It'll be pretty much the same as it was this expansion. We'll launch, there will be a level 90 dungeon and probably 2 level 90 side dungeons. I wouldn't even be surprised if there was one less. Actually, did they say there would be 8 dungeons? Because I think that would be, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. No, that would be the right number. If they said 7, though, I don't recall if they said we were only getting 7 dungeons or 8 dungeons or whatever. But even then, it wouldn't even change anything, really. So let's say we launch, we get the final story dungeon, and then 1 or 2 side dungeons after that. That would be an expert of 2 or 3. And then the next patch comes out, has 1 dungeon, you rotate one of them out, you add the new one in. And then it just does that till the end of the expansion. So we'll always have 2 in the expert roulette. They'll always want to have a roulette for max level, I feel. And I don't see that's going to change anything at all. And since capped currency on the 0.0 and 0.1 patch are kind of low, I think we'll get some more. Oh, you mean the number of activities? I mean, the hunt and dungeons and your normal mode raids. Oh, you're saying 0.0 and 0.1. Do you mean 0.0 and 0.01? I know it's too much. There's plenty of ways to get tomes. The hunt, roulettes, normal raids, and in the case of 0.1, the 24-man raids. Maps will probably be in 0.1 as well. So yeah, there's plenty of activities by 0.1 that is not really much of a concern. Even in 0.0, there's still a handful of activities that are going to be useful for that. So I don't think there's going to be any increase in activities that specifically yield tomestones, because there's already quite a few even in those early patches. Hashtag Mondays with Mr. Happy. Lolly ho, Mr. Happy. Hope you're doing aye. Long-time watcher, first-time massacre. With the influx of new players into the game from a certain game, do you think they'll bring over develop add-ons they're using in the game over to 14? I know ACT is an add-on that high-end raiders already use, and I can see how something like that is useful to learn and improve. Seen another streamer use other third-party add-ons to alter their UI. I wonder if add-ons would lead to something like DBM being made for 14, which would ruin the game. There already is a DBM for 14, and most of the people who use it are really fucking lazy. There are some people who really need it, like they have like attention deficit disorders and stuff like that, where they literally just they need that constant pinging, that constant kind of attention drawing. I get that, but there's a lot of people who are just really fucking lazy and don't want to do anything. So this is a complicated answer. The answer about add-ons is no. Things that add-ons do being put into the game directly, which I think is actually what you're asking, is, I want to say more likely, but it's the only way that you ever see any of these features ever implemented into the game. The main reason being they're not going to develop something that's PC exclusive in the case of something like add-ons. They would want it to be something both console and PC users can access. So because of that, it's a little more complicated. But the big thing is, a lot of those things they don't want responsibility for. DPS meters is the big one. Even a personal DPS meter they don't want in the game, because then they have to be held liable for the way that it's used. Whereas the way they have it now, it's a third-party tool. It is against terms of service, so they have room to act against anybody using it if they need to. And if someone harasses someone with it, that falls under harassment anyway, so they're able to basically deal with any situation that arises from it without actually having to take responsibility for the systems that are in place, so they can put that development power into something else. So it's a tough call to see if they would ever add anything. Now, more UI elements, changes, and stuff like that, they're always going to be working on changes like that. Probably not most of the stuff that the add-ons themselves are actually doing those, but I would not expect very many add-on related things to make their way into Final Fantasy XIV, unless it's super toxic to the way people are using it, and the dev team would like to A, eliminate the possibility of using it in the first place, and B, provide a moderately workable alternative like they did with markers. Alright, hashtag Mr. Happy Mondays. Hello, hi, hope life is treating you well. Same. Long-time watcher, first-time asker. Welcome. Have they announced, or do you think they'll continue having all side quests scale to your level and Endwalker? There's no reason they wouldn't do this. It would be absolutely ridiculous if they went back in time and made the Endwalker quest not do that. I would be obliterated in just my brain. That sentence is how I would feel. And that sentence made no sense, because it would make no sense for them to go back. So there's no way. I'll give it a confident, there's a 0% chance we don't have that in Endwalker. And when I'm wrong about that, you come back and mock me for it. Hashtag Mr. Happy Mondays. Hello, hi, and I hope you're doing well. Same. Your video about the Pixel remasters did a good job of explaining the qualities of each version, especially for Final Fantasy III. You said it improved your opinion of Final Fantasy III compared to the 3D version. Could you explain what issues you have with the 3D version and why you placed your game in the bottom 3? Not bottom 3. Bottom. Final Fantasy III 3D is, I think, the worst Final Fantasy game that's ever been made. And that's for a number of reasons. My camera looks kind of, I think my focus is off a little bit. Whatever. You don't care about what's on my face anyway. Look at this. So first of all, I feel like all 2D to 3D transitions are massive downgrades to begin with. 3D to upscaled 3D does a lot better. Because what you sacrifice from going from 2D to 3D is a look that is cohesive, a look that is consistent, and a look that is generally attractive to the eyes, regardless of what kind of preferences that you have, to these blocky, like chibi, awkward characters. And I'm specifically talking about Final Fantasy's 2Ds, 3Ds, 3 and 4, that just look hideous and have not aged well at all, even when they're HD upscaled to something like Steam. So appearance-wise, you pretty lost me. 3D tries to incorporate these really weird backstories to the 4 Warriors of Light, the 4 Onion Knights, if you'll have them. That gets completely abandoned like 2 hours into the game. The fact that they name these characters and give them a backstory only draws out the start of the game unnecessarily and achieves absolutely nothing by the end of the game. So it's a complete waste of time, and there's a reason why Luneth basically only shows up in Final Fantasy 3 3D and in the TCG, and that's like it, because he's completely worthless. He's even worse than a character that has no backstory. I don't know how they did it, but they managed to do it. Then you have the natural slowdown. Go play a single random encounter in the 2D version, and then go do a single random encounter in the 3D version, and it's just slower. For no reason. This was a problem they had when they went from Final Fantasy 6 to Final Fantasy 7, 8, 9. It was disguising the load times, but it's a problem even going from the 2D to 3D version. There's just certain things that just the game slows down. The menus are slower, the combat is slower, everything is slower. Even your job progression is slower. Final Fantasy 3 also penalizes you for changing jobs too frequently, which is fucking stupid. Final Fantasy 3 Pixel Remaster, and the original, by the way, do not do that, and Final Fantasy 3 Pixel Remaster is all the better for it because it didn't take that stupid system. Now, 3D has better job mechanics than the base game. The original Final Fantasy 3, the jobs are so non-distinct. They're lame, I'll say that. 3D did a good job of making them feel more like Final Fantasy 5-esque jobs. Like, there's a good reason to take certain jobs, but it still is the issue of replacing old jobs with new jobs outright. Final Fantasy 3 Pixel Remaster still has that, like, Devout replaces White Mage and, Magus replaces Black Mage kind of problem. But it takes some of the job changes from the 3D versions and then adds even more job changes to make them even more distinct and more fun to play, and it works even better. So, and then let's not forget 3D versions Final Dungeon. You can't save all the way from the base of the Crystal Tower all the way to the end of the final boss. Even the original game didn't make you do that. I believe the original Final Fantasy 3, if I'm not mistaken, has 2 save points in the Crystal Tower. And then the whole World of Darkness you can't save. 3D, that's it. You have to do the whole Crystal Tower, the World of Darkness, all in one fell swoop, or you can't. This version is quick saving and auto saving, way less frustrating. What else is there? The bosses in the 3D version, they reduced the number of enemies that you can encounter, but just increased everything's turn. So bosses just get 2 to 4 turns every freaking time for no reason at all. Not to mention, the extra boss in Final Fantasy 3 3D is pretty lame. It's the freaking Iron Giant, which is just a random enemy from Final Fantasy 2. They just said, it's got 3 attacks, make it a super boss, who cares? Then, I hate Final Fantasy 3 3D so fucking much. At least it has good music, I'll give it that. What else? The Onion Knight, starting class in Final Fantasy 3 and Final Fantasy 3 Pixel Remaster, they take it away from being a starting class. Does the same fucking thing in both games, by the way, Onion Knight. Completely the fucking same. But in the 3D version, they make you Freelancer at the start of the game, make you unlock Onion Knight with this stupid Magnet system, which is another negative for the 3D version of Final Fantasy 3. And it's the same thing. It's not even improved in any way. They just made you unlock it. I don't like Final Fantasy 3 3D, and there's a lot of reasons. So as you can tell, I'm very happy that Pixel Remaster was pretty good. Now I get to cool down from that last one. Hashtag Mrhappy Monday. So 6.0, hi by the way. There's our first not hello of the day. Disappointing. With 6.0 being the end of this massive story, do you think they will try to update the engine or make big updates with the 7.0 story? I know we don't know much, but I'd like to hear your thoughts. I get this question pretty frequently. I always say 7.0 would be the earliest you would see an engine upgrade for Final Fantasy 14. Do I think it'll happen in 7.0? Probably not. But I think that they know that if they're going to keep supporting a game into the long term, they probably need to make upgrades to it that they can't just patch over like they have been for all these years. So that would be the earliest possible point. And even then, I wouldn't be too optimistic about it being that soon. All right, this one didn't have a hashtag, but I saw the words first time asker as I was scrolling through, so that works for me. Hello, sir. First time asker. Hello, by the way. Been watching for a while, and your guides have been incredibly helpful. So first, thanks for all you do. I know it's a ton of work. Thank you. And now you have 2 questions. All right, let's see what you got. Given that expansion seemed to set up 2 expansions prior, Post of Realm Reborn gave us Ilbert and his focus on Alamigo, and Yugiri, Post Heaven's Word gave us the Warrior of Darkness. So funny thing about that, they actually said that by the time that they had released the Warrior of Darkness patch with 3.1, the initial Warrior of Darkness patch, they actually, Shadowbringers was the concept that was originally going to be for 4.0, and then they decided not to. They decided to do Stormblood first instead. So they're not necessarily setting things up to expansions in advance all the time, but they don't like to let things linger too long if people are interested in knowing more about it, if that makes sense. So I wouldn't take that exactly. They don't set things up to expansions in advance so much as they always plan about 2 expansions in advance. Like, they make sure that if they're building something now, they know how they could use it in the future, is the better way to put it. I don't think anything that happens in 6.0, except maybe a final cutscene. I mean 6.0 itself, not 6.x, just 6.0. Will have nothing to set up for 6.1 and beyond. I think they will give us the smallest teaser imaginable for 6.1, and then they will start doing cliffhangers starting in 6.1 and onward again. Second tree of answers before, do you think there'll be more limited jobs? Doubtful. I think they're going to have Judge Blue Mage. I honestly wouldn't be surprised if they were considering reworking Blue Mage for 7.0 and completely, like, changing it and making it a full job. I don't think they're going to have been content with the amount of work that went into making it what it is. But they also probably wouldn't want to remove what it is as well. So I don't know. They'd have to release it as a brand new job. They wouldn't just want you to be able to pick it up from wherever you left off with it and then just learn it for 10 more levels. But I don't know. I don't personally perceive it as enough of a success for them to do another one. But who knows? Maybe it was, and I just don't know. So we'll just have to wait and see. Hashtag Mondays with Mr. Happy. Hey there, Haps. Hello. Curious question from me this week. Sure. What other MMOs do you think 14's crosshopper system would work well in? All of them. All right, hashtag Mondays with the Hapster. What's up, Haps? Long-time viewer, first-time askers have a bonus of 2 poetics and a high-quality egg. I love me some eggs. If you could replace 14's character creator with any other game's creator, with the same option, with the same playable races, which game's character creation would you choose? You're asking the wrong person. I don't care. Dude, when games have really elaborate character creators, I just press random and hope that it doesn't look ugly. Because it's way too many things. When you start giving people complete control over, like, proportions and shit like that, I'm not a... Listen, when I was in college, when I was doing game courses, I was learning level design. I have no interest in doing character design at all. And thus, my character creation cares are also at a fucking minimum. So, I am the worst person to ask this question, because I think most people would say any Korean MMO, you know, BDO or Solo, literally any Korean MMO, because their character creators are like... They put massive development into the character. I'm trying to scroll it down. Into the character creators. I just don't care. It's so many options that it's just, I can't be asked to care. It's too many things. It's overload. Hashtag Mondays with Mr. Happy. Hi, Mr. Happy. Long-time watcher, but first-time asker. Welcome. I've been away from 14 for a couple of years. I miss Shadowbringer in its entirety. I'm thinking of coming back. My question is, if I buy Endwalker on release, will that also give me access to all the Shadowbringers content, or do I need to buy both? If you want to play Shadowbringers right now, you need to buy Shadowbringers right now. If you are okay waiting until Endwalker releases on November 23rd, not the 19th for early access, specifically on the 23rd, and you pre-order Endwalker when it comes out on the 23rd of November, you will have access to Shadowbringers. So hopefully that answers the question adequately. Hashtag Mr. Happy Mondays. Hey, Happy. Hi. Hope you're doing well today, but enjoying the content for a while, and I thought I'd ask a question, and sorry if I make this too long. Tend to get long-winded. It fits on one little square on the screen, so I think you're all right. Firstly, what are your opinions on jobs using different weapons than their main weapon for skills? The prime weapon is machinist with a drill, air anchor, etc. I think it'd be a nice flavor for the job. Yeah, I mean, it's cool. As long as it's a skill that fits on the job. Honestly, I would want to see like a Blade Master job one day, where they have like a main weapon that is kind of like the Blade Master weapon, but their skills are all different types of weapons. If that makes sense. I don't know what the main weapon would be, because that would have to be the big thing. But I also, it's not even just this. With skills, I like when they have different weapons. Like, instead of warrior throwing their own axe, I kind of wish tomahawk was an actual tomahawk that they threw. And then there's other examples I could give, but I think you get the point. And then also, I like when they make, I have a perfect example for this. I like when they take a weapon type and make a different weapon visually with it. A great example is the dwarf hammer with the warrior axe. Like, it's a hammer, but it's an axe for a warrior. I'm a big fan of that as well. But yeah, I mean, any job where they can make this apply, absolutely, as long as it fits the job fantasy. Hashtag Mondays with Mr. Happy. Hey Haps, hope you're doing well. Same to you. I started playing 14 last year, and Endwalker will be my first expansion together with you fine people. First thing I want to do is play the story, but I imagine a lot of people will be doing that too. Is it worth the wait 3 or 4 days or maybe a week so the first wave of people can pass? Is it really? No, dude, you want to rush into that shit so nobody spoils it for you. That's the honest truth. So nobody spoils it for you. Here's what you do. You got a Switch? If you have a Switch, here's what you do. You pre-order Pokemon, what is it? Shining Pearl, Brilliant Diamond or whatever? I don't know. But pre-order one of those, and when the servers kick you out, you turn on your Switch and you play that until the servers let you back in, and then you're good. You should be fine. Hashtag Mr. Happy Mondays. Hey Happy, how you doing? I'm doing alright. You doing alright? You're doing all right. Okay. I've done some EX content and love it, but I always get nervous doing pugs. Do you have any advice for new or unconfident players? Excuse me, for dipping their toes into Pug EX? I mean, there's nothing but to do it, but to just do it. That's it. Practice before you go in. Watch a video. Give it a shot. What else are you going to do? Especially if it's like a fresh learning party, like, you're going to fuck up. It's the bottom line. It's going to happen. It's expected. And anyone who doesn't expect it is an idiot. Not saying the person doing it, but like, if a party finder leader is like, hey, this is practice. None of us have ever done this before. And then first pull, somebody dies to like the second mechanic, like, idiot. It's like, what the fuck? You said it was fresh learning. I'm learning. But as long as you take all the steps, that's it. Just jump in and do it. That's all there is to it. Hashtag Lunascone. I can't read it without the. I see, Senor Feliz. I know it says Mondays with Mr. Happy in Spanish, but I can't read it because it's all one hashtag. Saludos, Haps. Hope you're doing alright. I'm doing alright. You doing alright? I'm doing alright. Coming to you with a quick question this week. Is there a lore explanation for the special arenas where we fight primals, icons, etc.? Yes, every single one of them has a lore tidbit, an entry about what the relevance is to that character, to the tribe, and to the individual primal. You give Shinryu as an example. Well, the Royal Menagerie is just... it's just a garden in Alamigo, basically for royalty. What's his face? I can't remember the Alamigan king's name, the one before the Empire took over. But it's basically a small garden for the royalty to hang out in, when they want to get some fresh air and not be near the people. What specifically happens with Shinryu, though, is he breaks the bridge that separates the menagerie from one of its towers out in Alamigo, and then he actually carries you from that tower up onto a platform he makes with his own ether. So that's what all that is. But the actual garden area, that's why they show that part where you're like running over along the bridge to actually get to the disconnected part of the menagerie to the arena. And then the rest of it happens basically so far above you. I mean, you gotta also remember, Shinryu literally flooded the entirety of a part of Gridania and a part of the fringes. And we don't see any of that ever come to fruition on anything. So I wouldn't take it too seriously what Shinryu does, because it seems like they just ignore the power curve that thing is following. Hashtag Mondays with Mr. Happy. You can't see it on the screen, but it does indeed say it. Hey, Mr. Happy, hope you're doing well. Same to you. Here are a few questions. Sure. One, do you think we'll get more glamour plates and Endwalkers since adding 2 more classes? Yeah, I think they're always working on adding new glamour plates. So when they add, it's a question, but they're always working on having more. Do you know a good, reliable website to look at where to obtain triple triad cards and field notes? So field notes, I don't remember. There is one. Triple triad cards, I think A Realm Reborn. What is it? ARRtripletriad.com, and then you just have to go to the card section. ARRtripletriad.com. I don't know why it's a Realm Reborn Triple Triad, but that's what it is. That's what I use to get mine. 3, when do you think the other crafting weapons for Gunbreaker and Dancer, since they added weapon for Shinryu? Probably not going to be seeing any more for any of the primals that came before that. I wouldn't expect any more Gunbreaker, Dancer crafted weapons unless there are ones that already have Gunbreaker and Dancer regular weapons. And 4, they fix Super Bullets, the issue with whether or not you go invuln in time. I mean, that's the same with Hallowed Ground. Holmgang and Living Dead have pretty quick activation times, but Hallowed Ground and Super Bullite have pretty long activation times. I don't know why. I think they should fix it, but they haven't. For Hallowed Ground has been the same way since 2.0. So, I think they actually did fix it a little bit, but it still does that. So, if it's been that way for that long, how can I say I have hope that'll happen anytime soon? Hashtag Mr. Happy Mondays. Hey, Haps, hope you're doing not well. Thanks. My question this week is, what design choices from the first Eden raids would you like to see them avoid in the first set of Pandemonium raids? No more boring third bosses. Even Anamorphosis, which I like, is still kind of like, you could do a better job maybe a little bit. I don't know what it is with the third fights in this expansion just not being that good. Leviathan is okay. E7 was fine during Prague and is awful to re-clear. And Anamorphosis I like doing, but it's arguably still not that well put together. So yeah, just come on. I don't know what goes on with that third fight, but fix it. No more bosses that just sit on the north side of the arena, unless you got some crazy cool gimmicks, by the way. Leviathan breaking the arena in one of 2 ways was not good enough, and the frickin' Birdnado did not do the trick either. Just, I don't know, they gotta come up with something. Hashtag Mr. Happy Mondays. Hello, Mr. Happy. How are you today? Hi, by the way. Long-time watcher since before Heavensward, but first-time asker. Welcome. If you still get a bonus for first times, I hope the next meal you cook is even better than you hope it'll be. I cooked some pretty good food this last. I cooked a medium rare New York strip with a gorgonzola sauce alongside scalped potatoes and garlic roasted asparagus. The next day, I had some leftover of the veggies, so I had got half a dozen shrimp and a small lobster tail. And I poached the lobster tail for just about 3 minutes, and then sliced it up into medallions, added alongside some salt, pepper, and garlic seasoned pan-grilled shrimp, and did a little seafood medley with the same veggies, and put the gorgonzola sauce that I had left over on top of the, not on top of the seafood. That was a lemon butter sauce, sorry. And then the gorgonzola went over the potatoes instead. I've been eating good the last couple days. All right. My question is, but there's a question, by the way. Ever since they announced Reaper, I've been thinking about, oh my god, Edda was the first Reaper. She makes a deal with the Void's End, buys a new dress from Hot Topic, learns how to apply black eyeliner, starts using a scythe, and all these things we see from Reaper. When they fight the Void's End, even fights alongside her, yet for how obvious it is to me, I haven't yet to see anyone mention it yet. Do you think Edda is going to be in the class lore, or do you think she should be? So, how do I put this? Well, first of all, no. I don't think she's going to be mentioned at all. Second of all, she doesn't learn anything. How do I put? There's no jobstone associated with her. Basically, she loses her mind and performs a blood ritual to try to infuse her husband's head with a void scent. She doesn't really make a pact with it all so much as she gives it life, kind of. And she doesn't even really fight at that point, other than summoning the, and then doing the giant room anyway, summoning some void scent on the side. But what we're doing is, supposedly, we're making a pact with a single void scent, of a specific void scent at that. And it's one of mutual agreement. This is a woman who's gone crazy and does not have any sort of mutual agreement with these things. They kind of just answer to her craziness almost, because they're all consuming creatures. They're not they're not the best pets, put it that way. So I'm sure there's going to be some sort of lore drawback for us having one, and then for her using a scythe. I think that was just them wanting her. It was Palace of the Dead, Grim Reaper kind of aesthetic. That's the problem, is anything scythe, void, undead, it's all that same kind of Grim Reaper aesthetic. So I don't think there's going to be any relation between them lore-wise, because tons of people have made pacts with Void Scent, but the method with which Reaper accesses it is likely to be a very, very different thing. The fact that she uses the scythe again is probably just more of a Grim Reaper-esque style reference, and less anything to do with the actual job lore. All right, hashtag Mondays with Mr. Happy. How are you? And salutations. Hope you're doing well. I like the how are you. How are you as well? Not sure what your opinion on 7 is. I was surprised there wasn't a collab for the remake. So they actually gave a reason for that. The remake was such a high profile thing that was being developed that they didn't want to distract the dev team from making sure it was the best launch they could possibly make. Specifically the 7 remake team. They didn't want to distract them. So maybe now that they've got some experience under their belt. They've already developed the first part, and now they have assets to work on the second part. It's possible we might see a 7 remake collab for part 2, but they had a very particular reason for not doing the first part. All right, hashtag Mr. Happy Mondays. Good day from Australia. Good day. I'm an ex-longtime MMO player who decided to give 14 a go a couple months ago, given all the hype, and I've been loving it. Most of my internet comes from hardcore rating, or interest comes from hardcore rating, and the game seems to have numerous raid options and varying levels of difficulty, which is exciting. My question concerns, by the way, hello and welcome, concerns the telegraphing of abilities. The game has some of the best visual indicators I've ever seen, such as the stack marker, and enemy AoE's red, and allied or blue. However, I noticed that there are a few mechanics that aren't telegraphed at all, such as certain instances of raid-wide damage and tank busters. Given that these mechanics are typically managed with preventative abilities, having them not telegraphed at all seems like it would add a lot of frustration and feel bad moments during progression in raids and in general. My experience is always a negative trait to a game and has concerned me about starting to pursue endgame. So, the big thing with Final Fantasy XIV, normal mode teaches savage mode. In normal mode, almost all the time there's indicators. It's very rare there's not an indicator. In Savage, part of the added difficulty is taking that thing that you learned away and seeing how much you actually understood what it does. When you see an ability, like let's say you see a Fire 3 being cast by the enemy, and Fire 3 means everyone has to, let's say, spread out. It depends on the fight. Sometimes fire is different ways. And you learn that in normal mode. In normal mode, when the boss casts Fire 3, everyone gets a marker. You see that everyone has to spread out, so that's what you do. But now you go into Savage and you see Fire 3 casting, but you don't see the marker. It's testing how much you actually learned about the fight, how much you actually know about the fight, how much you actually understand about the fight. So that's why the longer you have to study a normal mode, the better off you usually do going into a Savage mode. Now, that's not to say that that's always the be-all, end-all, but that's the general gist of things. There are normally things that need to be figured out through trial and error, and that is a big part of progression rating. For example, if an attack only targets the nearest and the furthest person, often that's not going to be telegraphed. But the game over time teaches you how to recognize those types of skills. For example, if the boss is targeting the tank and starts casting an ability and then turns around and hits the entire raid group with it, you know that that is likely targeting someone that is the closest to the boss or the person who is farthest away from the boss. That should be, after and playing the game enough, be the first assumptions that you actually make. It could also be targeting somebody at random, which is a possibility. But again, the whole point of progression rating is to try and figure out these things, and taking that away basically just makes it follow the marker progression and takes a lot out of the fun of those early game progressions. Hashtag Mr. Happy Mondays. Hello, how are you? I'm fine, you're fine, we're fine. My question is simple. How do you deal with burnout? That's one of my favorite games. Burnout Paradise? Oh, no, I know what you mean. I'm seeing a lot of people talking and feeling this. I just stop playing something if I feel burned out. I never understand why people need to like, they feel like they need to deal with burnout. Just stop doing the thing that's burning you out. Now, obviously, that doesn't always work. If you're burned out at work, but you need to pay the bills, maybe you look for another job or something. But obviously, not always exactly the best advice. But I don't force myself to play 14 if I genuinely have nothing I want to do in 14. If even the things I kind of want to do, I'm not motivated to do, I just don't do them. That's it. I go play something else. I go shiny hunting Pokemon, or I'll load up a Final Fantasy game I haven't played in a while, or I'll check out the latest closed beta for whatever Korean RPG, MMORPG is coming out that gets abandoned a month later. Like, I'll do one of those things, But if that's how I deal with it, I just stop doing the thing that's burning me out. Hashtag Mondays with Mr. Happy. Hello, Mr. Happy. I hope things are well. Same for you. I have two short... By the way, I'm like 40 minutes into this recording. I have no idea how many questions I have left. I should probably figure that out after this and maybe just do the rest in a lightning round. Two short questions. Hopefully I can make this brief. Okay, could I get that on the screen? All right, could I get it a little bit nicer on the screen? How about that? Cool, great. Some time ago, in one of your weekly Q&As, you mentioned how you were okay with the idea of returning boss fights like Unreal versions. What I was curious about is when it comes to boss fights against Primals or previous expansion, would you prefer they just kept adding Unreal as an option, keeping the mechanics the same while buffing the item level prerequisites, or you like to see them add something more along the lines of how Eden Raid handle Primals? That depends on the content. Unreal being old fights brought back into relevancy, I like. If they then also decided they wanted to do a feature where they took the boss fights and remade them, but they were approximately the same difficulty, I would also be okay with that. But it depends on what the goal of the actual feature is. I don't just want them to do one or the other. I want them to do whatever makes the most sense for the content that they're creating. So the answer is either or. Don't ever bring up Thorn March in my comment section again, by the way. Don't you ever use Thorn March as an example ever again. Dude, have you considered doing collaborations with other 14 YouTube content creators? Yeah, but I'm terrible at asking for people to do collaborations because I have a self-esteem issue and I have social anxiety. So I don't. That's it. All right, so there aren't too many left, but I am going to, I guess, do the rest of the comment section here. Let me see about the question. So there was a question that was a follow-up to last week, which was about the lightning round one with the specific job content. I really don't have much to add to that discussion. They asked what I think about Guild Wars 2, and I said I liked it before. They've abandoned everything I liked about Guild Wars 2 over time, especially since Heart of Thorns, but at least Path of Fire apparently had an okay story. But I'm not going to be touching the Dragon expansion, whatever it's called. Not going to be touching that. There was somebody else who said they were pugging through UCOB, and it's been rough. I mean, yeah. Way to push decent numbers past blue on UCOB. In pugs, it's going to be tough, but if the pug is doing okay, a pug that can actually win, your parses will subsequently, probably be better. But, I mean, UCOB really comes down to how comfortable you are doing mechanics when you get selected for them, like Twintanya's balls. Any nail mechanic, if you are constantly afraid of keeping uptime during nail mechanics, that'll kill you. And if you don't know how to reburst during the Bahamut phase, that'll get you. It's a fight that's so much about the DPS check is so low that as long as you don't fuck it up, there's a good chance you can win. That kind of attitude is very common until Golden, where you want to push as hard as you can. I operated that way going into UCOB, and I got my clear with a pretty low overall parse, but I did what I needed to do on the final phase. I was the highest DPS. I didn't die. I didn't get clipped by anything. Cooldowns were on point. And that's all that really mattered to me. So those are the things you'll have to do to improve an UCOB parse, though. Be less nervous about your twisters, about when you get selected for balls, about when you get selected for lightning, about when you're the doom target, when you get selected for dive bomb, how to optimize the uptime phases in Bahamut, how to optimize your uptime or hit both targets. That's a big one, being able to multi-target during the Twintanya and Nail phase towards the end. All those things are the things you got to work on if you want to get a decent parse in UCOB, because the people who are good at it, they're good at it, and it's going to be tough to get very high if you don't improve in that specific point. I forgot I was in the lightning round, to be honest, so I'm just going to, whatever, I'm going to keep going. There was a lore question that has spoiler related, and it's about something about with the state of Ishtola's health, and I've been waiting for that to be a relevant plot point again for ages, and I'll let you know when it is. Because there's not fixing it, it's what it's going to cause later down the line, and I've been waiting for something particular to happen, and I want to see if it happens. So we'll revisit that point at some point. Let's see. And then there was another one, New Game Plus. How come the New Game Plus menu? I have Tank Roll Quest completed, Warrior, Dark Knight. It's got question mark, question mark, question mark. Oh, because there are there are job quests for those jobs, and there are role quests for those jobs. So it sounds like the job quests are incomplete for your New Game Plus. If you have time, it shows Crystal Tower Alliance raids complete, but I've done all 3 Evil Ace raids, all 3 near raids. There's something you haven't done. There might be a quest you haven't completed that's preventing you from getting it. I don't know, but you're missing something clearly, or it's on a different character or something along those lines. Let's see. Then there's a bunch of comments down here. I like I like this one. I'm the Soylent version of Asmongold when it comes to cash shop discussing. People like this are just fucking weird, man. Oh, man. I'm very clear about my cash shop points. I don't recommend it. I try not to use it, but I'm by that damn Cruise Chaser mount. You can bet your ass. And giveaways, pretty good for that. Were there anything else? I feel like I skipped another question. There's a lot of comments on last week about the visual pop-up at the beginning. Like I said at the beginning, I read all of those already. One of my favorite comments here is Lesson 2 in the Healer Hall of the Novice. The NPC inside tells you, when you've healed all there is to heal, there may be some time to weave in some offensive magics. See, even the game tells you to DPS as a healer. I'm almost positive there's another question that I missed or skipped. There's the expert question. I need to look. Parcelita stuff, video recommendation, Sidequest scaling again, massive story. This one, first time commenter with Eureka. Thing I do for triple triad cards. What is your favorite side content system in the game and why? Eureka and Bozja are both pretty up there. Dude, I hate deep dungeons. I know I have the Lone Hero title and I'm working on Necro right now. I hope they do better. I really, really hope they do better with deep dungeons in 7.0 because it seems like they're probably going to release one, but I can't be asked to care. In all honesty, I just can't be asked to care. Yeah, probably Eureka and Bozja, though. They're pretty close to each other. Let's see. I'm positive there was another one that I skipped, and I said I'll save that for the lightning round, but I did it like between rounds, so I don't remember which one it is. Naturally improved YouTube community feature, long-winded, Endwalker first expansion, pugging EX content. Oh, this one. Do you predict which classes will get reworked? Summoner, major rework, Monk, minor rework, and Astro, minor rework. Those would be the three that I would guess. And I think that might have been the one I was thinking of. The Special Arenas one, Black Mage is a joke one. By the way, my Black Mage percentiles are great. I'm in the top 11 percentile. So yeah, somebody else comments on this because a lot of people... The comment from last week about the people like, oh, if you're not 85 to 95% percentile, you're a fucking scrub kind of conversation. Yeah, percentiles are based on the total number of uploaded parses. So if a job has very few parses uploaded, that means that people parsing are probably way better and you're up against a tougher competition. If there's a lot, you might be able to break into blue or purple a lot more easily because there might be a lot more low-end ones for you to jump over. So again, that whole percentile talk from last week was really fucking stupid. There was one about World of Darkness. Do I have trouble in it? Like, do I see duty finders that have trouble? I usually roll with, like, a crew on stream. Like, I don't ever solo queue into World of Darkness, so I always have a guaranteed group of 8 that can function in there. And because of that, it's tough for me to I guess, have a bad time. Like, yeah, like, if the other 2 alliances are kind of shit in the bed, it can go kind of south, but there's always 8 people who I can rely on, and that's good enough for a decent number of, for a decent amount of the World of Darkness. So, no, I don't often see that. Then that's pretty much the reason why. And I think that was the only other one. Okay, so that's going to be a wrap for this week's episode of Mondays with Mrhappy. If you have a comment for a weekly Q&A, throw it in the comment section of the video below. If you have the hashtag, it's much easier to find, in case you're wondering why I had a hard time finding that last one. And, yeah, also, if you want to check me out on Twitch, I stream every day, 7 a.m. to 2 p.m. Pacific at least. And if it's not Final Fantasy XIV, it's some other RPG or MMORPG or sponsored stream or mobile game or Genshin Impact or something along those lines. So be sure to tune in for that as well. There's a link to that in the description of every YouTube video, in case you didn't know. But anyway, that's going to be a wrap for this week's episode. I'm going to go get some food because I think it's starting to affect my speech. And with that, I'll see you all next week. Until then, take care.